All right. Okay. Give me 2 seconds, guys.
Mass graves containing hundreds of bodies around Al Shifa. UN chief said he was horrified by these reports. I'm wondering if US has a comment on this and whether you guys have raised this with the Israeli government.
We have seen those reports, and the reports are incredibly troubling, and we're inquiring on this with the government of Israel.
Specifically on that.
Correct. I don't have any specific information to offer, insight into what this is or isn't. I don't have a sense of that from up here, but we are inquiring about this with the government of
Do you know
Israel.
if you reached out to who?
More than 300 bodies have been found. The United Nations is asking or calling for an independent investigation. Would you support such an independent investigation?
Right now,
into this
Saeed,
matter?
we are asking for more information.
Right.
That is squarely where we're leaving the conversation. I don't have any details to match, confirm, or offer as it relates to that. We're aware of those reports, and we have asked the government of Israel for additional clarity and information, and that's where I'm at.
I understand.
Is it fair to say until at least like 2025, there is no chance that US would be able to resume funding for UNRWA?
Иванову Тимуру Владимировичу меру пресечения без заключения по стражу. Установим срок его содержания по стражу на 2 месяца 0 суток, то есть до 23 июня 2024 года.
Уголовно-процессуального кодекса Российской Федерации постановил избрать обвиняемому Бородину Сергею Владимировичу меру пресечения в виде заключения под стражу, установить срок его содержания под стражей на 2 месяца 00 суток, то есть до 23 июня 2024 года.
Уйдет на финансирование ВПК Соединенных Штатов. Американские власти цинично заявляют, что умирать за их интересы в борьбе с Россией будут украинцы. Предприятия российского оборонно-промышленного комплекса в разы нарастили свои мощности, значительно повысили боевозможности наших вооруженных сил. Об этом свидетельствует обстановка в зоне специальной военной операции. Мероприятия на рейках Башкирии и Бурятии, в Забайкальском и Хабаровском краях, Ульяновской и Челябинской областях обеспечивает беспрепятственно. Одним из приоритетных направлений развития воздушно-космических сил является оснащение войск противовоздушной и противоракетной обороны перспективным вооружением.
Дальше 4-й, то есть 7-й, 8-й.
Да,
а тебя
там 2. И последний. Там такие 4 дома находятся. Вот эти два. Я передаю. Тогда нет, вот там далеко.
Слова благодарности нашим замечательным бойцам, которые заслуженно абсолютно получили свои награды, всем медицинским работникам, конечно, за милосердие, за доброту, за вашу бескорыстность.
Воинского долга награждены.
Никита, с удовольствием реализуем твою мечту. Приглашаю тебя в город Санкт-Петербург. Ты посетишь замечательный музейный комплекс «Аврора». Также я предлагаю тебе посетить несколько наших музеев. Это музей военно-морского флота, артиллерийский музей. Также посетить город Кронштадт, где построен новый современный музейный комплекс.
أنا بقول هاي قدام أبو محمود بحكي معاه.
Hours in advance, so you get much better and more balanced coverage. It's 6:30, so we had extremely short time.
We are horrified also by the destruction of An-Nasser Medical Complex and Al-Shifa Medical Complex and the reports of the discovery of mass graves in and around facilities. And we call for independent, effective, transparent investigations into the deaths. Given the prevailing climate of impunity, this should include international investigators. Hospitals are entitled to very special protection under international humanitarian law. And let's be clear, the intentional killing of civilians, detainees, and others who are hors de combat is a war crime.
Just a quick precision, Ravina. Can you just tell us what's the difference between...
We are stressing the need for international investigations. There's a history here of impunity for gross violations, and so many of them have gone undetected and unreported on. So we feel the need to raise the alarm because clearly there have been multiple bodies discovered. We don't know how many. There are reports that some of them had their hands tied, which of course indicates serious violations of international human rights law and international humanitarian law. And these need to be subjected to further investigations. They can't just be, more reports in this horrific war that just pass under the radar. The reports that we do have are that in relation to An-Nasser, the Gaza government media office announced that 283 bodies were recovered, of which 42 have been identified. Victims had reportedly been buried deep in the ground and covered with waste. Among the deceased were allegedly older people, women, and wounded, while others were found tied with their hands. They were found with their hands tied and stripped of their clothes.
Okay, many thanks for giving me the floor. It's on the UNRWA report yesterday.
In relation to Al-Shifa, reports suggest that there were 30 Palestinian bodies buried in 2 graves in the courtyard of Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City, one in front of the emergency building and the others in front of the dialysis building. The bodies of 12 Palestinians were identified in this case, and the others have still not been identified. And there are reports that the hands of some of these bodies were also tied. And in total, the Israeli Defense Forces themselves claim to have killed 200 Palestinians during the Al-Shifa medical complex operation. And there are reports that this may be an underestimate, that there may be many more that were killed. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights today decried a series of Israeli strikes on Gaza in the past few days that have killed mostly children and women. He repeats his warning against a full-scale incursion on an area where 1.2 million civilians have already been forcibly cornered. Such an operation would lead to further breaches of international humanitarian law and international human rights law, and risks even more deaths, injuries, and displacement on a large scale, even further atrocity crimes for which those responsible must be held accountable.
Arrangements that have been confirmed in this legislation.
Вначале мне понравились корейские песни, потом я записалась в студию танцев, ну и как-то решила, что здорово было бы, наверное, создать свою команду, делать уже как-то проекты самостоятельно, а не подстраиваться под кого-то. И так вот мы и родились, собственно. Песня сопровождается перформансом и танцем, и это как-то больше завлекает, нежели просто вышел человек и, собственно, поет, двигается с микрофоном на сцене. А тут какой-то интересный интертеймент, внутренняя жизнь айдолов, и поэтому это завлекает. Это правда завлекает, что ты как будто входишь в это комьюнити и являешься частью всего этого.
Просто проблема в том, что я когда покупала их альбомы, у меня вот целая полка под именно... Это не столько происходит, но я знаю, что в Великобритании популярны всякие еще именно как-то клубные вечеринки. Вот так вот. Музыка, самовыражение еще, поскольку я именно занимаюсь тут танцами. Связи. Для меня очень важно иметь контакт с такими же, скажем так, людьми. Очень много приятных людей встречаю. Приглашают на все фесты всякие крупные. И бывает, когда ты...
Восемь, раз, два, три, четыре, пять, шесть, семь, восемь, раз, два, три.
4 ты стоишь за 5. Давайте только этот момент пройдемся. Хорошо? Я тут уже лет 5 или 7, точно я уже со счета сбилась. И вот просто за особые заслуги, за то, что я тут очень много занимаюсь, меня уже повысили до звания хореографа. Мне нравится именно в этом направлении, в том, что ты танцуешь целой группой. То есть в плане, что у тебя есть какие-то друзья, которые тоже есть какие-то партии, где они там тоже где-то поют, танцуют, и там с ними есть какое-то взаимодействие, что ты смотришь на тем, где они стоят, как, скажем так, когда ты вот чувствуешь общность именно группы людей. Очень много новых людей появилось. Сейчас намного больше людей начали этим интересоваться, делать тоже там кей-поп-каверы. Мне кажется, это получило такое большое распространение из-за того, что многие кей-поперы стали выходить на улицу это снимать. Вот, потому что раньше все делали это именно в студиях, арендовывали сами студии или какие-то локации и снимали в закрытых помещениях. А потом стало популярно как кей-поп and public, в основном все начали именно публично танцевать.
Направление вот именно азиатское развивается куда быстрее, чем даже в европейских странах или в той же самой Америке. Как будто здесь люди больше к этому, то есть, привыкшие, может быть, потому что у нас тоже страна большая, у нас и азиатский регион тоже есть. Он артист во всех смыслах, то есть он умеет танцевать, он умеет хорошо петь, читать рэп, он умеет в актерское искусство. Очень много артистов вот азиатских, они в том числе еще снимаются в фильмах, например. И их развивают со всех сторон одинаково, разом, и я думаю, что, наверное, у нас молодежь что вдохновляет.
Отметили дату 8 лет с основания студии. Если честно, раньше у нас было всего 2 группы, и мы снимали почасово залы, то есть сейчас у нас 3 огромных филиала в Москве, есть еще филиалы в других городах. Мы делаем огромное количество масштабных мероприятий как для своих учеников, так и для людей, просто увлекающихся кей-попом. И помимо этого у нас сотни, даже тысячи учеников сейчас. Раньше про кей-поп никто даже не слышал. То есть, мы когда рассказывали про студию, приходилось еще людям дополнительно объяснять, что такое кей-поп, как это, где это, корейцы, почему корейцы. То сейчас, просто если даже возьмем сферу пользовательскую, там, я не знаю, общепит, косметика и так далее. Если мы пойдем в торговый центр, мы услышим кей-поп. То есть кей-поп сейчас везде, он на слуху, и, соответственно, в России он только набирает обороты. Так как я кручусь, естественно, в азиатской сфере, да, то есть я каждый раз прихожу и вижу, что все подростки, с которыми я общаюсь, они в основном увлекаются Азией. Но скажу больше, что когда я работала учителем английского, то есть там никак это не было связано с кей-попом, были обычные дети, и даже они как-то, когда рассказывали о своих интересах, говорили про Азию.
человек делает, но это уже наш продукт, так сказать, считается.
Потім повернулися і вирішили все знов зробити, і реконструювали, відбудували, зробили ребрендинг цього приміщення, знову вставили всі вікна. Потім 2 січня в нас ще був раз прильот, в нас теж вибило вікна, але ми працювали, ми все забили і працювали, і все було добре, але сьогодні ось 3-0. 3-0. Ми хочемо відбудуватись і відкритись, тому що це наше місто, наша справа. Ми будемо тут робити, жити і відбудовувати все. Але на зараз, наскільки це буде швидко, нічого не можу сказати. Будемо спробувати. Звичайно. Ось у туалеті в нас щось зі стелею. Ось.
Все це, що творять росіяни сьогодні з Харковом, коли вони нещадно б'ють по житловим будинкам, по житловим кварталам, це їх мета, щоб люди виїжджали з Харкова. Але вони це ніколи не зроблять.
You feel tougher. You feel real tough, big body.
Yeah!
It's a mess. It's very chaotic. Faculty this morning received an email saying that they were going to be shutting this protest down before it even started. I walked out of class around noon, and I saw there were 12 bikes, motorcycle. They weren't just UTPD, they were DPS, Department of Public Safety bikes, just around the tower. The tower where the protest was originally planned was blocked off and fenced off.
We were, from the beginning, we wanted a peaceful protest. We wanted something that was just like a community gathering that was meant to show our frustration with the university, but unfortunately did not turn out that way.
Maybe eventually, but right now it's graduate, hop on a campaign, get back to the state legislature.
I was saying doing it on campus that will take a while to do sort of very secondary reaction to, so we'll be following that, and hopefully it seems to be getting more peaceful and quiet now. We'll be here on campus as these things go.
That's crazy. Did you get it on video?
Yeah, a little bit of it.
We ask that you gather back here so we can clear some things up, make sure everyone's on the same page, and everyone feels good about moving forward. Does that make sense? Yes. All right, let's do it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
about the power of youth. There's a lot of. I'm an Arab student wanting to spread awareness for Palestine. I think it's important that we remind the youth about what is happening because it's been so long. People are faltering in their passion for this project, but the genocide has been happening for 75 years and it continues today, and it's important that we continue this fight and continue this conversation for as long as it goes, which hopefully isn't much longer. Basically, the whole thing is that we don't care who's being killed and we don't care who's killing them. It's wrong that they're being killed at all. But because it happens to be Gaza and it happens to be Israel does not mean that we are going to hate on Jewish people for it. In fact, most Jewish people are for Gaza. And so they're one of our biggest supporters, actually.
The 3 or the 4 down to...
I think, to be honest, there's a lot of just dissonance because you see a lot of it online and you can skip the video, you can speed it up. And just when you're seeing 50 people a day saying I need help, I need $10,000 to get my family across the border so we don't die, it just, you kind of get a certain numbness to it at some point. And sometimes I find myself falling into that, but I think it's important that, you keep in mind that these aren't just pixels on a screen. These are people that are trying to save their families. These are people that quite literally don't have any other choice.
Make sure. I mean, if you want us to, we can, but we do not have to. It's not a...
I definitely support it. I mean, when you think back on the history of this country and the protests that have changed this country, it's really been students that have sat in, walked off, gone on student strikes. That has inspired often the labor movement to take action. And I hope that a lot of the student strikes that are happening now from the colleges, campuses to the high schools do inspire others to take action.
Thank you everyone for being here. We are here today as Jewish Columbia and Barnard students who were arrested and suspended for peacefully protesting in support of Palestinian freedom on Thursday, April 18th.
And just to clarify, Soph and Sarah, you were both arrested, and Leah was not arrested but suspended.
That's right. Hundreds of us have been holding a peaceful protest on the lawn since April 17th. As students at Columbia, we have 3 demands. Divest all finances, including the endowment, from corporations that profit from Israeli apartheid, genocide, and occupation in Palestine. 2, provide financial transparency of all investments. And 3, ensure amnesty for all students and faculty arrested, disciplined, or fired in connection with the movement for Palestinian liberation.
As the media spins language of violence and ignores our story, they reveal their ignorance of the reality of Jewish life by portraying the Jewish people as a monolith and erasing the stories of the thousands of us fighting for a free Palestine. When I was marched out of the encampment in zip ties, I did not flinch. I walked into a space of love and joy, of solidarity and liberation, expecting to be met with violence by the institution I call home, simply because I cannot and could not stand to be complicit in our university's ongoing support for Israel's genocidal campaign. There are no universities left in Gaza, so we chose to reclaim our university for the people of Palestine. I was suspended from campus 3 hours before my arrest, along with 2 others of my peers, because I have been a vocal Jewish voice in the solidarity movement since early this year, and I was arrested on a violation for trespassing on my own campus.
It's indefinite, an interim suspension, indefinite.
I have never felt more proud to be Jewish and more in line with the values of my faith than when I was being taken out of Columbia's lawns with my hands zip-tied behind my back, alongside 107 other students, risking safety and suspension in order to push our university to divest from genocide, apartheid, and occupation in Palestine. In zip ties, I walked in the path of my Jewish ancestors, like my great-grandfather, who was part of the 1905 Russian Revolution. Like other Jews under the Tsarist regime, he was confined to the Pale of Settlement and experienced the constant threat of pogroms and the brutality of state violence. He risked his life to fight for a better world. I cannot, in good faith, honor his memory and ignore the checkpoints, the bombs, and the settler violence that Palestinians are subject to every single day. My college administration, my representatives in Congress, and my own president have continually acted as spokespeople for the Jewish community, equating anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism. They silence us, suspend us, create barriers for us to practice our faith, so that they can say that we are a fringe group or that we're not real Jews.
We, as Jewish students, have willingly and proudly put everything we have on the line because our vision is unclouded. We understand the immense and profound interconnectedness of it all, of us all.
Because they are in danger. What do you think about that? I mean,
months ago, I was sprayed with a noxious chemical on this campus. Multiple of my friends were hospitalized following the attack. I was bedridden for a couple days, and I felt extremely unsafe on my own campus. I feel unsafe when Columbia professors like Shai Davidai tell me I'll be on the last train to Auschwitz and then try to get into my university. And I think I empathize with individuals who feel uncomfortable with certain rhetoric, but I remind you that we live in a country and we go to attend a university that extremely values free speech, open dialogue, and rhetoric, and I would encourage everyone to listen to a variety of perspectives and to analyze what it means to not like something or disagree with something versus to actively be in a position of being unsafe. Because when you are arrested, dragged out in zip ties, and have red marks on your wrists for days after the fact, when you have a seizure in jail, like one of my friends did, when you have an asthma attack in jail, when you have your wrist dislocated, that is what being unsafe is. I've been called a capo many times in the last couple of months. I have never been called a Judenrat, which I deem as particularly disgusting, and I have not been told that I would be on the last train of Auschwitz. Many of us have families who are Holocaust survivors, and I think that, especially coming from a professor on our campus, this is one of the most hurtful things. I know that some of us have been called disgraces. I've been called self-hating. I've been called neurotic.
I myself, and I can only imagine how my Palestinian peers feel, have been racially profiled, harassed on the streets. Barnard students' hijabs have been pulled off of them. They've been questioned. The anti-Muslim hatred has not been acknowledged in any certain terms by this university, and I find it unacceptable that this unilateral focus from the press, and most of the targeting that I've experienced, almost all of it, has actually come from my supposed Jewish community who have abandoned and excluded many of us on the basis of our political convictions. So it is our own who are labeling us as disgraces, and these are some of the most hurtful and deeply anti-Semitic remarks that I've ever been on the other side of.
Recently, I had the privilege and the pleasure to speak to over 200 of my colleagues across various campuses, and we all discussed what the future of this movement would look like. We compared demands, we compared the repressive environments, and we all shared a similar sentiment that we would not stop, we will not rest until our universities divested from genocide, divested from apartheid, divested from occupation. We all share the same spark, and we all understand that the youth will lead this movement. We are the next generation, and we do not stand for hatred, we do not stand for bigotry, we do not stand for violence. And as a Jewish student, and the Jewish groups I've been communicating with, we do not stand for this in our name.
So that's it. If anybody needs any kind of follow-up information, come talk to me.
Hizi ndo nyumba tulikuwa tukiishi. Mimi mwenyewe nilikuwa naishi kwa hii nyumba namba 16. Hiyo wakati tulipoathirika na hiyo maneno, ikawa maji imepomoa ukuta huko nyuma. Sasa maji inapita na humu ndani.
But that day it was really terrible. Me and my daughters and my wife and my brother were on top of roof. Yeah, you can imagine. From morning to till 11 p.m.
Hai hatuna plan. Tunaomba tu usaidizi juu sasa. Yaani hatuna. Juu sasa hata vitu zenye tulikuwa nazo zimeenda na maji. Like hawa wanarudi shule next week, si ndio? Wanarudi. Uniforms hawana, viatu, bags. Yaani nikaa kuanza chapter mpya. Hawana anything.
Nyumba imejaa maji, sina kabisa kitu. Hata nikitoka hapa nikienda, sina na bado niko at risk. Ile area ile, si ile yenye naweza sema narudi kwa saa hii na hakuna kitu.